the chime. Oh, it's as long as you know where it is. Yeah. All right. Well, it looks like we're almost there. Happy New Year. Good morning. It's so good to see everybody. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Emerald Coast. If we have any first-time visitors, not sure that we do, but if we do, we encourage you to take a look at our website and our Facebook page to learn more about us. I am the Reverend Ruth Van Lillian, the minister here, where I am honored and privileged to serve. We are a congregation of a covenant relationship founded on loving kindness and a common devotion to our free faith. This morning, as every Sunday service, we hope to touch hearts and teach minds, to challenge spirits and comfort souls. And on this New Year's Day, may we begin again the journey around the sun and the journey together as a faith community. Welcome.
And good morning again. I'm Amanda Pyburn, a member of this fellowship and your service leader this morning. Announcements are listed in your order of service and in the e-news sent out every Friday. We have quite a few good things coming up. First of all, today is an intergenerational service. A lot of our staff are on vacation New Year's Day, so the children will be staying in the service the whole time. There are no second-hour discussion groups today, but next week, everything starts up fresh. We also are starting the TV dinner open mic, TV dinner theater. If you've been here a while, you remember those. It's here on Friday at 6 o'clock. You are welcome to come and perform anything you want, or just come and enjoy the performances. There will be snacks provided, but if you want to bring things to share, you are welcome to do that as well. We also have Martin Luther King Day coming up, and we always have a presence in Fort Walton Beach's parade. Erica Erickson and Jane Park are in charge organizing this, so see them as we get more details. We'll get it out to you, but I understand they're looking for volunteers to help make new t-shirts and a new banner. Remember that big banner we always carry? So we hope to have a good presence on Martin Luther King Day as well. And we have one more announcement by Amy.
So Amanda is taller than I am, so I'll just stand on tiptoes. Most of you will remember that all during December we've been collecting money for the UUSC Guest at Your Table program. And many of you took the little boxes home to collect money, put them on your table, and invite the guests to your table. So next Sunday is the day to bring the boxes back. If you'll just, when you bring them, I'll be here, but you can put them on the back table back there where the chocolate bars are, because you can still buy a chocolate bar and contribute to the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee Guest at Your Table program. If you bring the box back, if you want your donation acknowledged, fill in the name and address and contact, everything that's on the back of that box. and leave it here. And I'll collect everything and we'll get whatever went into the Share the Plate during the month of December, and then I'll let everyone know how much we collected as a group to send to Guests at Your Table. Okay, thank you.
Now the prelude prepares us for the service. Harriet Jones is going to help light our chalice this morning. My daughter Katie grew up in this fellowship. If you've been here a long time, you'll remember her. She's visiting from Arizona with her husband and 4-year-old. There you go. We come together with our tired minds and bodies, with our confusion and questions, our uncertainties and our fears. We come together with our hopes, with our pasts and our ideas, our passions and our faith. We come together bringing all of who we are, trusting that in gathering we will be renewed, and that together we can create the world we long for.
If you would find a gray hymnal and turn in the back to 419. Reading number 419. I'd like for us to read this responsively, so we'll just alternate the lines, sort of the whole lines. And I'll start. Number 419. Look to this day. For it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence. The bliss of growth. The glory of action. The splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream. And tomorrow is only a vision. A dream of happiness. And every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Would you now turn in your teal hymnals to number 1059? Number 1059. This is a canon, or a round as we sometimes call them. And one of my goals is to turn the entire congregation into a choir. And this is how we start. So 1059, you'll notice it's got little numbers in circles along the left side. We're just going to do 1 and 2, just a 2-part round. So I want to divide the congregation kind of down the middle. So if you sort of look around, figure out which side you're on. we will be the first part on my side. And I've got a little laryngitis, so if I go out, you just keep going. I'll come back in. And the choir is going to sing part 2. So everybody on that side, go with them. And we're going to all sing it together just to learn it. And then we'll sing the round through 3 times. As you are able, I invite you to stand. May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing with the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing with the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing with the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing with the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. Stars, ever dancing circles in the night. Beautiful. Please be seated.
Will the kids all come up front for the time for all ages? You found it. Well, Happy New Year. So on New Year's, a lot of people make resolutions. Do you know what a resolution is? What? Gotcha, huh? It's like a promise or a plan to make yourself a better person, right? You're going to change yourself in some way. Maybe you are going to eat more vegetables. Maybe you are going to clean your room every day without even being asked. That's not happening yet. Well, that's the problem with resolutions. A lot of times we have trouble keeping them. Did you think of one?
Oh wait,
What's your?
I don't remember what I did last year. I forgot the name of what it was, but now I remember. I forgot what I said.
But you were thinking about resolutions. Yeah, that's okay. Well, my story is actually not about making a resolution to change yourself. It's about making a resolution to be yourself or to like yourself, because that's really important. So you're right, the pictures are up front, or you can look here. I like myself. I'm glad I'm me. She does some pretty crazy things, huh? There's no one else I'd rather be. I like my eyes, my ears, my nose. I like my fingers and my toes. I like me wild. I like me tame. I like me different and the same. She seems to have scared that big lion. I like me fast. I like me slow. I like me everywhere I go. I like me on the inside too, for all I think and say and do. There's a lot inside you that other people can't see, not just bones, huh? What you're thinking or feeling. Inside, outside, upside down, from head to toe and all around, I like it all. It all is me, and me is all I want to be. And I don't care in any way what someone else may think or say. I bet he's calling her names or saying something rude to make her feel bad. But she's not going to let it make her feel bad. Oh, I may be called a silly nut or crazy cuckoo bird. So what? I'm having too much fun, you see, for anything to bother me. And even when I look a mess, have you ever woken up looking like that?
Last time I checked, she didn't have that much hair.
I know, and yet, here she is a total mess. I still don't like me any less, 'cause nothing in this world, you know, can change what's deep inside. And so, no matter if they stop and stare, no person ever anywhere can make me feel that what they see is all there really is to me. It does, doesn't it?
That's what I said.
I'd still like me with fleas or warts, or with a silly snout that snorts, or knobby knees or hippo hips or purple polka dotted lips. She would still like herself. Or beaver breath or stinky toes, or horns protruding from my nose, or yikes, with spikes all down my spine, or hair that's like a porcupine. I would still be the same, you see. I like myself because I'm me. She would still be the same inside. So for all these people here who might be thinking about how to change themselves in the new year, that's a good thing. We can always make ourselves better. But don't forget to also like yourself just the way you are, because you're already pretty awesome. Thank you for listening. You're invited to briefly share personal events in your life by dropping a pebble in the bowl of water silently or speaking a few words into the microphone so we may support each other in joy. Well, I meant to say in sorrows, but it works both ways, right? Support each other in sorrows and celebrate together in joy.
We are creatures of cycles and seasons, and as our lives spiral about like a vine, we find ourselves revisiting the old, and yet finding that we are not the same. And then we find ourselves at points looking down the road at what is unknown, at what is unpredictable. This can seem frightening, but we are not alone. We travel these roads together, and there is much joy and growth ahead. So let us take courage and proceed together. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be.
Generosity is a spiritual practice. Our fellowship is supported by our pledges and donations. We have these envelopes that are maybe just newly renewed in the back of each chair. If you wish to mark whether it's a donation or a pledge, that makes it an easy way to do it. We also have a tradition we call Share the Plate, where cash and checks with STP or Share the Plate in the memo line are shared equally with a local charity. For the month of January, our Share the Plate recipient is Youth Village. Youth Village is a nonprofit after-school program and summer camp in Fort Walton Beach for children in preschool through 8th grade. They provide a safe, nurturing environment with supportive mentors and teachers to help children acquire a love of learning and a desire to achieve. Thank you for your generosity.
Happy New Year, everyone. 2023 stretches out before us like a journey upon which we are about to embark, whether we feel entirely ready or not. The Christmas tree may still be up. House guests may still be with us. The fridge may still hold leftovers from holiday feasts. Nonetheless, the new year is upon us, and the journey begins today. My longtime friend Lindy told me a story about her mother Eunice, and it struck me as a kind of metaphor for our New Year's journey. You all have an important part to play in this story. When I cue you, please respond with, "Magnificent little nanny goat." So let's practice. Magnificent little nanny goat. Aunt Eunice was the youngest of 9 children. And one summer she decided to take several of her nieces and nephews to the beach. She stuffed them into her second-hand station wagon, one of those big old boats you remember. Sarah Jo and Billy in the back jump seat. Jenny, Johnny, and Marianne in the middle row with the large German Shepherd who lay under their feet. And Aunt Eunice sat in front and allowed 15-year-old Barbara to drive. Taking the old 2-lane Highway 31 south from Birmingham, they drove through miles of fields and woods. Suddenly, Johnny and Marianne sang out together, "Stop! There's a goat by the road." Barbara hit the brakes, and everyone turned around in their seats to look back down the asphalt. There was indeed a small brown and white goat nibbling the grass on the shoulder. There ensued a loud and enthusiastic exchange among the 6 children about the goat. Where did it come from? Whose goat was it? Why was it outside the fence? What dire fate might befall it if left alone on the roadside? Everyone had a strong opinion, and no one was listening much to anyone else, not unlike some church committee meetings I have attended. Then Aunt Eunice called out loudly, "Now hush, children. That looks like a magnificent little nanny goat. Let's bring her with us." So everyone climbed out of the car and went together to catch their new goat. After spending a sweaty and energetic half-hour game of catch the goat on the roadside, they piled back into the car, 2 in the rear jump seat, 3 in the middle along with the German Shepherd, Barbara behind the wheel, and Aunt Eunice holding on to that magnificent little nanny goat. The history of calendars, religious traditions, and rituals observing the new year is extensive and complex. The common themes of turning away from wrong or destructive practices, repairing and renewing lifestyles and relationships, and recommitting to the teachings of one's faith can be found in the text of many ancient religious traditions. In the secular world, New Year's is the time for making resolutions about self-improvement, and there is a whole commercial industry which capitalizes on dieting and exercise at this time of year. I am sure I am not the only veteran of such self-improvement campaigns, which begin with the enthusiasm of great hopes. The journey of the new year often begins this way, but as we travel, we run into unexpected events. Aunt Eunice and her fellow travelers stopped at a hamburger place south of Montgomery. Barbara pulled the car into a spot behind the building, and all the car doors creaked as they opened, releasing the 5 younger children, teenage Barbara, Aunt Eunice, the German Shepherd on his leash, and the magnificent little nanny goat. with a lead Aunt Eunice had fashioned from a scrap of rope she had stored under the front seat. While the kids took turns walking the animals about in the grass and visiting the restaurant facilities, Aunt Eunice bought everyone hamburgers with fries and milkshakes. Then they all scrambled back into the old station wagon, the two youngest kids in the rear jump seat, three older in the middle row with the German Shepherd, Barbara in the driver's seat, and the magnificent little nanny goat standing nervously between Aunt Eunice's feet, eyeing her French fries with interest. The New Year's journey begins with leaving behind the previous year and all that it included. Certainly many things will come along with us, but there are people and pets whom we've lost. There are places we have left, milestones that took place. And yes, we have each aged a year with all the gains and losses that come with it. The new year stretches before us with so much promise, like freshly fallen snow. But we know that underneath the pristine surface, the road will have twists and curves, potholes and hazards. The new year calls us forward, but it takes some courage to get up and begin the journey. They drove on for nearly 2 hours when they encountered a police checkpoint at the state line, not unusual for that time. As the line crept slowly forward, Aunt Eunice leaned over and asked Barbara, "Are you sure you have your driver's permit? We can still switch places if you don't." Barbara replied with a little irritation, "Of course, Aunt Eunice. It's in my purse right here." She patted her handbag sitting on the seat between them under the hamburger wrappers. When they pulled up to the head of the line, the young male police officer looked down at Barbara and asked to see her driver's license. She smiled, reached into her purse, but something was wrong. She began searching frantically. "It's not there, Aunt Eunice," she whispered in a panic. "And my handkerchief, and my photographs from my boyfriend's birthday party, they're all gone." Aunt Eunice took the purse from her and began to look through it. Then she looked down at the magnificent little nanny goat and saw a small scrap of paper dangling from the corner of that little mouth, all that remained of Barbara's driver's permit. She took the little corner of paper and handed it to the police officer, smiling broadly. "Officer, I'm terribly sorry, but it seems that our magnificent little nanny goat got into my niece's pocketbook and nibbled on her driver's permit. I'm afraid this is all that's left. Here's my driver's license, if that helps." She handed that to him. The young man was clearly not amused as he studied the two documents in his hand, and then replied, "Ma'am, I will have to issue you a citation for allowing this young woman to drive your car without a driver's permit. You'll have to pay the fine at the county courthouse." Aunt Eunice stared at him for a few seconds. "Now listen, young man. I am a very responsible person, and I would never have allowed my dear niece to drive my car filled with my other nieces and nephews all the way from Birmingham down to the ocean without her permit. How was I to know that our magnificent little nanny goat here might chew it up? This is patently unfair, illegal, and immoral. I do not expect a police officer to treat a lady this way, and I won't stand for it. I have put every dime I have into taking these poor little children for a trip to the beach, and I have no funds left for your ridiculous citation." As she drew breath, the policeman studied her, frowning. "In that case, ma'am, you must accompany me to the courthouse immediately." He returned her license to her. "If you would please take the wheel of your vehicle and follow my patrol car." As our New Year's journey progresses, we will encounter challenges we had not expected, and we may initially try to sort things out on our own. However, it is important to remember that as a part of a faith community, we do not have to face everything alone, because we don't travel this road by ourselves. We travel together, and we find hope and strength in each other. Aunt Eunice slid across the wide seat while Barbara walked around and got on the other side. She took charge of the magnificent little nanny goat as Aunt Eunice cranked the engine and pulled forward behind the police car. She was mortified when he turned on the siren and the lights began flashing. All the kids cheered with delight. The German Shepherd howled, and the magnificent little nanny goat bleated piteously as they paraded off the highway and into town. They followed the police car around 3 sides of the town square before parking by the front entrance. The officer got out and gestured to Aunt Eunice to follow him into the building. She called over her shoulder, "Everybody out!" And all the car doors creaked open, and in a flurry of hamburger wrappers and milkshake cups, all 5 of the younger children hopped out with the German Shepherd, and teenage Barbara stood up leading the magnificent little nanny goat. They all marched in between the grand pillars of the front portico and down the wide corridor toward the courtroom. Aunt Eunice held her head high, ignoring the stares of the people she passed, acting as if she were accustomed to leading her nieces and nephews, a German Shepherd, and a magnificent little nanny goat through grand government buildings every other day. The stern young officer held the door open to the empty courtroom and invited Aunt Eunice to be seated. He now noticed with surprise the entourage following her and opened and shut his mouth a couple of times and then shrugged and walked toward a smaller passage. Aunt Eunice and the children filled up the entire front row of seats and waited. It wasn't long before several people entered the courtroom and someone called out, "All rise, court is now in session." Aunt Eunice stood up, gestured to Barbara and the others to stand also. It was at this point that the 2 youngest children, who had been left holding the dog's leash and the lead for the magnificent little nanny goat, noticed that the rope had been chewed through and the goat was nowhere to be seen. They slipped out of their seats and, taking the German Shepherd with them, went in search of the missing animal. Your new Board of Trustees takes their offices as of today. You, the UUFEC members, elected them at the end of October, and they have been preparing for their part of the collective New Year's journey before us since then. They will be working hard for all of you to navigate the journey ahead. Their work is very important for all of us. It's very useful. Most of it isn't sexy or exciting. Board work can be tedious and laborious, but the congregation cannot function without it. Your board will accomplish the expected tasks. They will face and address the surprises along the way. When problems arise, they will apply their collective brain power, their good hearts, their commitment to the Unitarian Universalist mission, their desire to make the world better, and they will find a way forward for all of us. Sarah Jo and Billy walked down the corridor following the large dog and holding tightly to his leash. He sniffed about with great interest in the unfamiliar surroundings. Suddenly they heard the bleating of the magnificent little nanny goat and followed the sound into a large room. 2 people had cornered the little animal, trying to catch her. Seeing his new little friend in distress, the German Shepherd lunged forward to rescue her, jerking his leash out of the children's hands. There ensued a fair amount of barking, bleating, yelling, and other carrying on, including overturned chairs and wastebaskets, and several overly excited adults running about. The two children climbed onto a desk for a better and safer view. Suddenly, a door opened, and a giant of a man in uniform with a shiny badge on his chest called out in a great operatic voice, "What on earth is going on in my office?" Receiving no immediate reply, he spied the large dog standing between the magnificent little nanny goat and her would-be captors. In 2 strides, he stood over the animals, speaking in a calming voice, and retrieved the leash with one hand and scooped the goat up with the other. Turning toward Billy and Sarah Jo, he asked, "Do these animals belong to you?" Your board and your leaders will continue to work very hard for all of us, for this collective body called the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. They are looking toward your future, and they will engage in the work of discernment through consultation with outside resources, through study of written materials, through extended discussion on the many facets of congregational life and mission. They take their election by the rest of you very seriously, and they all want the very best future for our faith community. So as we proceed together down this New Year's road of 2023, I'd like you to consider making 2 collective resolutions. Please resolve to trust and support your leaders as they faithfully pursue this challenging work. And when you are asked to help in some capacity, please say yes, even if you feel like you are too busy or not qualified. Please remember that our collective future depends on all of us working together. The second resolution is to increase your attendance and participation. It is tempting to think that if you don't show up, you're the only one who misses things. But in fact, we all miss out when you are not here. Showing up in person and online is a huge part of our commitment of membership, and our fellowship can't do and be what we are called to if we don't all show up. Please make attendance and participation in fellowship events a priority in 2023. Aunt Eunice sat up straight while the young officer outlined her crimes to the judge and her statement of unwillingness to pay her fine. The judge glanced at her and the remaining children and seemed on the verge of making some kind of pronouncement when the doors opened, and in strode the giant man with the badge leading the German Shepherd and carrying the magnificent little nanny goat, followed closely by the 2 youngest children. The judge frowned and spoke sternly, "Sheriff Cleveland, what is going on here? What are these animals doing in my courtroom?" The sheriff pointed toward Aunt Eunice. "I believe they belong to her, Your Honor." And as he looked toward Aunt Eunice, his expression changed to one of amazement. "Eunice, darling, what are you doing here?" Aunt Eunice stared back and responded, "Mark, is it really you?" The judge observed the 2 of them for a moment and then stated quietly, "Sheriff, would you escort this woman to my chambers?" as he gestured toward Aunt Eunice, "and get someone to take these animals out of here." Aunt Eunice's adventure had a happy ending. Her old beau convinced the judge to have the charges dropped, and then helped load all of the children, the German Shepherd, and the magnificent little nanny goat back into the old station wagon. He bought each child a Coca-Cola out of the courthouse vending machine, and made sure both animals got some fresh, cool water to drink before resuming their travels. Aunt Eunice gave the sheriff a discreet kiss on the cheek, and with a tear in her eye, she sat down behind the wheel, pulled away from the courthouse, and headed back toward the highway. The children fell asleep as the summer sun set, and the dog settled down for a nap. In the rear jump seat, snuggled between Billy and Sarah Jo, sat the magnificent little nanny goat. It had been a long and busy day, and she sighed as she leaned her little head against the boy's leg and closed her eyes. This is a wonderful fellowship, unique in this part of the Panhandle. We have a haven for religious liberals, and we are a launching area for justice work that's desperately needed here. Let us all resolve to do more to make our fellowship what it can be, what it should be, no matter what we encounter on our journey ahead. My friends, I wish you and all those you love a most happy New Year. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be. I want to invite the children to all come forward if they would like to help with a little task.
Is it breaking the pencils in half?
No, it is not. But thank you for considering that. These are pencils.
Do they need to be sharpened?
They do, but we're not going to do that right now. Each pencil says, please be kind. Everyone you meet is struggling in some way. Your kindness will make a difference. I'm ask the children to pass them around. Take more than one if you wish, and spread them around in our new year. So everyone take a few. And pass them around. Are there any other children who want to help? All right, well, you can come get more if you want. And while the children are doing that, if you would take your gray hymnals and turn to number 58, our closing hymn is Ring Out Wild Bells. This is a poem by Tennyson about the new year. Number 58, as you are able, I invite you to stand. The extinguishing of the chalice.
May you be filled with the blessings of this covenanted community. May you carry them with you as you depart from here. May you discover the places in the world where these blessings are needed. May you have the courage to share them. May there be an open place within you to receive the blessings of the people whom you will meet along the way. Please stay seated for the postlude, then join us in the back for conversation. Thank you for coming.
Siblings and kindred, as you head out on the road of 2023, while it may not be a nanny goat, I wish you the discovery of something magnificent on your journey. Let us go in peace. Amen.